Welcome to our Behind the Mic with MAB podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Fontaine. Join me as I chat with vibrant radio hosts, intriguing television personalities, and the brilliant minds behind TV and radio stations in our broadcast community. Today, I am super excited to be here with Ted Fortenberry. He is the Regional Vice President and General Manager for Gray Media and WLBT, with oversight of multiple stations across Mississippi and Arkansas. Ted will share what it takes to lead high-performing news teams, adapt to a rapidly evolving media landscape, and stay grounded in local communities. From his early days in radio in Tylertown, Mississippi, to leading major network affiliates, Ted will reflect on the lessons, challenges, and defining moments that shaped his career. He also dives into the importance of mentorship, consistency, and developing talent in an industry that never slows down. And in addition to his regular role, Ted serves as chair of the MAB board, and I am especially grateful for the time and leadership that you bring to that position. So welcome, Ted.
Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate you having me here today. This is awesome.
I know, we're finally making this happen.
I know this is only, maybe about 3 years we've been trying to do this. You've only been doing it a few months, but we've been trying to schedule this for a long time. So I'm glad you were accommodating and were able to work it into today. So thanks.
Well, thank you for being here. So let's talk about Ted. You started in the industry in radio.
Yeah, we didn't have electricity when I started, so it was a little difficult. I was very fortunate. I was in high school in Tylertown, Mississippi, going to Tylertown High School, and a buddy of mine was working at the radio station, and he decided to pursue something else, and a job opened up, and I thought, well, that's cool. It'd be cool to work at the radio station. And so I went and met with the owner, and they hired me, and it just kind of fell into it. It was kind of crazy.
So what did you do at the radio station?
I was a DJ. So I was, spinning records and literally turning records, turntables, and, playing commercials, typically what, a normal DJ would do back in those days. And it was country music. And, I'm 17 years old. I was not listening to country music. I was listening to rock and roll. And, that was not what I enjoyed. So I'd have to sit there for several hours, and listen to this country music. And the country music in the days when I was in radio was a lot different than the country music today. Today's country music is even almost like the rock and roll from when I was growing up. So, yeah, it wasn't the same. A lot of Merle Haggard and George Jones, which they're great performers, but that wasn't my cup of tea back then.
Gotcha. But were there people that I'm sure that knew you in the community as like, hey, you're the DJ, and hey, play this for me? And
oh yeah, and that was cool. Just being on the radio. And I grew up, in those days it was radio and TV. There were so few options. Every morning I'd turn on the radio. We didn't have podcasts like we're doing here. We didn't have streaming radio. We didn't even have like DVD, CDs. It was the album, playing an album. It was like so. Radio was really the only way you could hear the latest music, because if not, you'd have to just go buy an album or a 8-track tape, So to me, that was just a really cool opportunity. I fell in love with radio when I was a kid. I listened to it every day, every morning, had it in my car. And so I've been a fan of broadcasting for a long time.
So did you know that you wanted to be in the broadcast industry as a result of that job?
No, I had no idea. In fact, I was going to be an engineer. I joke about this. Calculus 2 ruined that plan. I tried to pass it twice and failed both times. So my guidance counselor, the advisor, was like, you might want to pursue something else. So I was at Southwest. It was called junior college back then. It wasn't even community college. And ended up going to Southern Miss and went and met with the person, that does the advising and gives you kind of the idea of what classes you need to take. And she was like, yeah, engineering's probably not your path. And she said, what do you do? And so I told her I'd been working at the radio station, because I also worked at WKAKH in Macomb when I was at Southwest. And she said, well, we've got radio, TV, and film as one of our degrees. And I was like, well, that might be something I'd be interested in. So I just kind of fell into it. It's crazy. But I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else.
Okay, I don't ever remember it being called radio, TV, and film.
Yeah, it was. In fact, they would shorten it. It was RTF. Anybody that was in school there, it wasn't mass comm or anything like that. And literally, you could like specialize in radio. You could specialize in film or TV. I ended up my actual minor is it's a radio, television, film degree with an emphasis. I'm sorry, an emphasis in broadcast journalism because I was going to be, on TV anchor, all that. The news side of the business is what I wanted to do. And then I minored in English. But what's interesting is my degree is a Bachelor of Science. Most everybody who graduated in RTF had a Bachelor of Arts because you think about all the classes you take are typically more on the art side. But because I had been in engineering, I had so much science already in math. And I talked to my counselor and I was like, what is the quickest way for me to get out of here? Because I was already on the 5-year plan because I, changed majors. So she said, well, you've got all this science. She said, you can get a Bachelor of Science. I said, done, let's do it.
You were like, check.
Yeah, let's go right there. Let's go.
I love it. So what was your first job?
My first TV job was at WDAM. I went out, we did a tour of the radio, of the TV station with my class that I was taking at Southern Miss. And when I was going through, I was like, man, I want to do this. So I called the operations man. I swear, I bet I called him like every week. He was probably so sick of hearing from me. His name's Byron Greco, great guy. And he finally hired me as a camera operator for the studio. I think I wore him down. He was like, okay, please just come out here so you don't call me anymore and come work. So I started out running the camera for like the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock news. So I'd go to class, during the day. And then I'd drive out to WDAM. I'd get there around 4:30 and ran camera for the shows that night.
Oh, I didn't know this story. Imagine Ted being persistent.
Yeah, you can't. That doesn't sound right, does it?
No, not at
No
all.
determination on my part. My mom used to joke, Ted, you're probably one of the most determined people I've ever met.
And she was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, I learned from her, and my dad.
So what did you do after that?
Eventually, I ended up, I did weather for WDAM. So the weekend weather guy ended up leaving. So I'm running, studio camera. That's what I did. I didn't do anything else. And the news director at the time came to me and says, hey, you interested in maybe coming over and working on the news side? You could do weather. And then also during the day on the weekends, I would go out as a photographer kind of / reporter. I did more photographer work for the other reporters, but every once in a while I would do reporting. But I had no clue what I was talking about with weather. And so I was like, sure, I'll do that. And so I did that for about 2 years and was going to school. And on the weekends, I was doing weather. I was the weather guy.
So did you have meteorology
None,
classes
zero.
or anything?
No, absolutely not.
How did you know what you were doing?
The guy who was the main chief met actually kind of taught me how to run all the equipment. But, I mean, I really had no idea what I was talking about. I would just like point at the maps and say, this is what's going to happen.
I never knew you were a weather guy.
Yeah, 2 years. And that was it. That was done. I was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore.
That is hysterical. So what did you do after
Well, then
you were the weather
when
guy?
I graduated from Southern Miss, I ended up going and working at WLOX down on the coast. A buddy of mine was in sales down there and told me about a job they had in the promotion department. And I didn't really know much about promotions and marketing. So I ended up going down there and I was the news promotion, basically producer. So I would write topical promos every day. So the stories they were covering that night, like that we would promote between like the 6 o'clock news and the 10 o'clock news. We'd run these, they call topical promos, and I would write the stories. Okay, coming up tonight at 10, we're going to be talking about blah, 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 whatever it was. So I started out doing that and then eventually ended up producing like more of like news type promos for special reports and things like that. And then I worked there for probably two years, maybe 2.5 years, and ended up being promoted to the, they called it promotion manager, but marketing director. So I did that for a while. And then the guy who owned WLOX was one of the owners, along with his sisters, Jimmy Love, formed a new company called Love Communications, and I ended up going to work for them. So you may have heard of LoveCom.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember LoveCom.
So that's how I got involved with LoveCom.
Interesting. Because was Leanne Brewer at LoveCom?
She was. Leanne was one of the sales managers. Bob O'Brien was actually the president. They used to call him Radio Bob because they owned the radio stations here in Jackson. And then when he went over and began working for LoveCom, they changed his name to Cable Bob because we were selling cable ad sales. So he went from Radio Bob to Cable Bob. He was awesome, by the way. I love. And Bob, a few years ago was inducted into the Mississippi Broadcasters Hall of Fame.
Yes. Okay, I didn't know you were at LoveCom.
Yeah, I was. I was there for about probably 5 years. Left there, went to New Orleans. I got a checkered past. I've kind of moved all over. Went to New Orleans for a few years. Worked for Cox Cable down there, and then I missed the broadcast business because even though we were doing media, it just wasn't the same. There wasn't that connection with the community. A friend of mine, a lady that I'd met years ago through the AdFed, who used to be the governor of the 7th District, Linda Sherman, was in Greenville, South Carolina, and called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, I got a sales manager position. Would you consider, joining our team?" And I flew out there and met with her, and off we went. So
Oh, wow.
I've
I
kind of drug
remember
Candace,
Linda
my wife.
Sherman.
I've drug her all over the country. I'm surprised she's still with me, but so we've moved all over. But went to Greenville, then I was in Charlotte. I went to Arkansas for a little while, and then we were back in the Carolinas. So we spent almost 20 years in the Carolinas. Most recently, before moving back to Mississippi, we were in Myrtle Beach for about 11 years. And then Dan Modisette, who we obviously know really well, was the general manager at WLBT. And we were working for Raycom Media. We're owned by the same company. I was in Myrtle Beach at a station there that we had built from the ground up, which was an unbelievable experience. And we were at a GM conference, and Dan came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm probably going to retire at the end of the year. I'm going to go talk to the guy who was the president at the time of the company." And he said, "If you're interested, you should say something to him." So, I thought about it, and I said, "Yeah, that might be a great opportunity to move back home and be closer to family and also work for a great station." So anyway, just kind of stars align, and I guess God had a plan, and here I am 11 years later.
And here you are. And
Yep.
you're with us to stay, right? You're not allowed to leave us.
If I have anything to do with it, I am, yeah, unless they force me to. So hopefully they won't do that. But I think I'm here for the long haul.
I do remember talking about, at some point, we talked about your past, and I remember you telling me that you literally would fly out at the beginning of the week and fly back home
Yeah.
on Fridays.
So that wasn't the plan originally, but so when I made the decision, as a family, we decided, okay, this is the right move, and I came over to Jackson. Our daughter was going into the 10th grade, and anyway, that was pretty emotional for her. She'd grown up in, basically in Myrtle Beach, and all her friends and everything. You can imagine how traumatic that might be. So ended up, at the time, it was when the housing market was down as well. So, selling a house was a little challenge. So I actually flew back and forth to Myrtle Beach for 3 years. So I'd fly out usually late Friday afternoons, and I'd fly back sometimes on Sunday nights, but sometimes I'd fly back Monday mornings. I had a flight that left around 5:30. It would land here actually before 8 o'clock, so I'd get to the station sometimes on Monday mornings before I would other days of the week when I was actually living in the market. So, yeah, that was an interesting time, but, you do what you got to do, take care of your family. They had sacrificed for me for, a long, long time, and thought that was just fair for me to return the favor.
Wow, that would be a lot.
Well, you think about people that travel all the time, it's really kind of no different. People that leave every week and they go out, and especially salespeople or other people who have their jobs that take them all across the country. The nice thing for me is I've had a place here. I was renting just an apartment so that I didn't have to carry like a luggage or anything. I just basically threw my backpack on and fly home and fly back.
Wow, that would
I
be
don't want to
nice.
do it again. And I'm glad that, can you imagine what it would have been like if COVID had happened? And so luckily, we moved everybody. When she graduated from high school, we all moved to Mississippi in 2018.
And you're not only over WLBT,
No, got a few other responsibilities.
a few.
Yeah, so it's probably been 3.5, 4 years ago, or actually, yeah, this year I think it'll be 4 years. They moved me into a regional position. We've got a few regional VPs within Gray. We work for, I think there are 6 or 7 what they call senior operating officers, SOOs, with the company, and each SOO has 1 or 2 RVPs that help them with their region. They have a bigger portfolio. And so my responsibilities now, obviously I'm the general manager at WLBT, which is my top priority. But then I have some oversight over our station in Hattiesburg, WDAM, which is Tim Walker, who's a fantastic general manager, former board president. I think it was twice, maybe.
I think he was twice,
yeah.
yes.
We got to get him 2 lifetime membership awards like we did with Kenny.
Exactly.
And then WTOK in Meridian, which is John Pollard, who has also been on the board before, and hopefully we'll get him back on the board maybe this fall. We've got a station in Jonesboro, Arkansas, which is KAIT. Hatton Weeks is the general manager there. Interestingly, he has a Mississippi connection too, because he was our news director at WLBT when I first came back in 2015. He was with us for about 2 or 3 years, and he got promoted to GM. He's from the Jonesboro area, so that was home for him. So, but he was here in Mississippi and, had a great experience here and did a great job at LBT. And then most recently, Gray Media acquired WTVA in Tupelo. So Luke Stanford, who's the general manager there, that station is now part of my portfolio. So I've got, is that 4 of our 5 Mississippi stations. I used to have WLOX, Rick Williams, who's the GM there. That's a fantastic, station on the coast where I used to work. And then a couple of years ago, they moved Rick into our region that includes New Orleans, which makes sense. He's right there, hour and a half away. So yeah, it's a lot, but I love it. I wouldn't. You were asking me before we got started, kind of what's a typical day, and there's never a typical day, which is really why I love what I do, because it's so unique. Every day I never get up and say, okay, I'm going to be bored today, because there's always something. And I never get up either and say, gosh, I just dread going to work. I love what I do. There may be days when I'm more excited to go than others, knowing what I might have to deal with, but I don't ever dread it, which I hope that stays the same way forever. If I ever start to dread it, I probably need to do something else.
You do have really good people.
Oh,
all the way around.
We got a fantastic team. And that's something, fortunately, I was taught very early in my career that, it's just a cliche, but surround yourself with good people. But it's so true, because if you have great people on your team, it makes the job more enjoyable. You also accomplish so much more, we all are challenged. Our industry and media in general has its challenges. So if you don't have a good team, it just makes it so much more difficult. And I think we're very fortunate, not only at LBT, but just Gray Media in general. We work for a wonderful company. We really do. And I'm not just saying that. I've worked for a lot of different companies. This is by far the best company I've ever worked for.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know, and I love all of those people you were just talking about. And Tim Walker just celebrated how many years?
He had 40 years. Yeah, he's been with Gray for 40 years. So he was the general manager of Meridian for a long time at WTOK before he moved to Hattiesburg to WDAM. So yeah, he's got a long track record with the company. He's fantastic.
He is. He's an awesome fella.
Yeah, he is.
So WLBT, there are probably people there that, you have some that have been there for years and years and years.
Oh, yeah.
Like Howard, Maggie, were they there when you got there?
Yeah, so I've only been there 11 years. And I know 11, some people, that's a long time. Howard and Maggie have both been there more than 40 years. We have employees who've been there 50 years. We had a guy, I can't remember how long ago it was, a few years ago. Yeah, been 50 plus years had worked at the station when he retired. Crazy. Which, that says a lot about the station. It says a lot about the people that work there. That really, about the culture. I inherited a great station. I can't take credit for that. I've tried to continue what was already built way long before I got there.
And I was thinking about just being general manager of WLBT in itself is so much. And then you have all of these others on top of that. But I have to say, you are one of the most organized people that I have ever met. And that says a lot coming from me, Ted. And I love it because anytime I'm talking to you, you're like, put that on my calendar. Put it on my calendar. Did you put that on my calendar? Like, I did.
Yeah. I guess that's just how I'm wired. I've always been that way. I don't know how I would operate any other way. That makes me, I think, efficient. Some people it drives crazy, makes them crazy. But it also, I think, helps hold people accountable. But also we get things done. I'm never complacent, always driven. And I think being organized is important. And I think it also goes to respecting somebody else's time. If you're not organized, if you don't have a plan, then I don't think you're going to be as successful as you could be. So I'm very fortunate that I'm just kind of wired that way, so I don't really have to really work at that.
No, it does not drive me crazy. I absolutely love it. It's awesome. And then the other thing that I love about you, I had forgotten that you had a journalism degree. You are the most excellent proofreader. If I need something proofed, I'm like, Ted, Check this out for me.
Well, that's probably about my English minor too, so that helps. But it's so weird because like words and things like that will just jump out at me that maybe a misspelled word or, now sometimes I get going so fast, I work pretty quickly, it's like TED time, right? It's like TED times now. And I miss things. I'll get so frustrated. I might send an email and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I misspelled that or I put the wrong word. It's spelled correctly, but it's the wrong word. So sometimes I need to slow down, to make sure that it's correct.
I have to say that rarely ever happens with me.
Yeah.
From your emails, like ever.
Now
You're
with
great.
AI, I could probably run everything through AI and it'd catch anything, but I just don't have time to do that. So.
And you write excellent nomination letters.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You do. You're the best at that.
I try to when I do nominate somebody, I try to think about, okay, what is it that really makes them unique? What makes them special? And try to put that in words. And I do rewrite sometimes. I'll like write something and then put it away and then go back and read it later. Or sometimes I'll actually email it to myself and read it. And I think I learned that a long time ago, like writing copy for commercials and stuff, that sometimes it's good to like let it sit and marinate a little bit, So I do that like when I'm sending somebody's a nomination in for something.
Well, I was just thinking about the last nomination letter I received from you.
Yeah.
Was for Maggie Wade.
Oh, how deserving, huh?
How awesome was that? That was so much fun to
I
surprise
can't believe
her.
we actually pulled it off, And for her to do that, to get that award after we changed the name and recognized Dr. Anthony, I mean, that it couldn't have been more appropriate. And she is the most wonderful person. People always ask me, is she like that? Yeah, she's the way she is. She's exactly like that. In fact, she's actually more, I think, appealing and just caring in person than she is even what you see on TV. She's as good as they come.
She is. She's so sweet.
Yeah.
The other night, I probably shouldn't tell you this. The other night, I was needing something from your station, and I was like, "Who can I text?" And then I was like, "Maggie," because I knew I was going to see her the next day, and I was like, "Maggie,
Yeah.
do you mind going to the front desk and checking to see if there's an envelope with my name on it? And then could you bring it to the fashion show that you're emceeing tomorrow?"
Oh, that's awesome.
And of course, in typical Maggie fashion, yeah, give
Sure,
me a few minutes. I'll go check on it for you. She's so sweet.
It's funny. Sometimes I'll get a text from her or Howard during the middle of a show, and I'm like, aren't you supposed to be anchoring the newscast right now? I mean, they're always on. It's great.
They've got it.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
And there's both of them. They are so wonderful. They are just such wonderful people. We're like you talked about earlier about our team. We're very blessed.
Definitely. Well, it was so much fun recognizing her as Woman of the Year, and she truly had no idea whatsoever. And then the fact that Mr. Tony was there.
I know. Wasn't that so
for
special?
us to name our award after Dr. Anthony.
Yeah, Dr. Anthony. I mean, that she will obviously be unbelievably missed. I mean, she was just the best. She really was. And, I already miss her. I mean, she's only been gone a short time, and her presence was definitely felt anytime she was around us.
Oh, she was
a great leader.
She was truly the best. And kudos to you, by the way, because you did an amazing job speaking at her celebration of life, just on behalf of the broadcast industry and MAB.
Yeah.
And you really, I see that you put so much effort into everything that you do, and I really appreciate that.
Well, with her, that was kind of easy because it was easy to say good things about her. She's just such a wonderful person. And, coming up with things to say about her and remember her life. I mean, really, I could have talked for 30 minutes. They said you got 3 minutes because there was just so much about her that was so special, and she's truly, truly missed.
She is. I think back to all of our many trips together. Oh, my goodness. Our DC trips and hill visits.
She's awesome. We had a lot of fun.
We did.
I mean, it's work, but she made it fun.
And she knows everyone. I will never forget. We left the restaurant and we're like, "Oh, it's just right there." I don't remember who said, "Oh, it's just right there." Right. And we're walking, and I'm holding her purse and her coat, and I'm going up the hill in heels.
Yeah.
And we get to the stop sign and we hear Elaine Anthony, and it's Senator Wicker.
Right.
It's like, what are the odds that we would be at
Isn't
the
that so
stop
weird?
sign?
I'll never forget. I think it was maybe that same trip, and it was just like pouring down rain, and we're trying to get to the cabs and find an Uber or something. And there's nobody in the lanes out there with this little bitty umbrella. We're just getting drenched. Yeah, I mean, but she was a trooper, never complained and always had a smile on her face.
She always did, and
Yeah,
everyone loved her. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I
sure.
don't think people realize what MAB does as far as advocacy
Yeah,
and our state leadership conference.
sure.
So tell the people that are listening a little bit about it's like, hey, you're going to DC, and they're like, oh, you're going to go have so much fun.
Yeah, fun.
And it's a lot of work.
It's all work. I mean, yeah, is there a little fun? Yeah, we could have a little bit of fun, but you're walking like you were talking about all over DC. You're going to Capitol Hill, firsthand, you sit there between the meetings because it's hard to schedule everybody. We've got to schedule it over like 2 or 3 days. So you might have one meeting and then you got another one 3 hours later. So you're just sitting there because when you leave, you got to wait in security to get in. But, you go back to the advocacy. It's so important that we tell the story of broadcasters. You see what's happening to the newspaper industry. Obviously, they have their challenges, and all media does. But we're kind of the last line of local defense as far as like local news, local community coverage. If local broadcasters, radio and TV, if we go away, what's left? The national big tech or national network, they're not going to cover the things we cover in Mississippi. It's not going to happen. You think Google's going to be here, come in here, or Meta or Amazon? No, they're not going to cover the local stories. So we have to do that, and we have to tell that story to our congressional, representatives, and then just to the public in general. We need your support. We need that Mississippi connection that's so important for us to be there. Because when you look on social media, whatever, when you read stuff, how do you know if it's accurate or how do you know if it's true? And some of that stuff can just spread like wildfire. In fact, we've talked about this. Sometimes big tech actually helps it spread, even though it may not be legitimate. So we've got to make sure we're telling the true stories, the facts, and sharing information that people can rely on.
And it's interesting talking about big tech. I think back to some of our discussions with some of our senators and congressmen about big tech.
Yeah,
And I don't know if the public realizes that they don't have fees that our broadcasters have to pay.
sure.
I mean, we just got the FCC fees
Yeah,
yesterday.
exactly.
So kind of explain that a little bit.
Yeah, well, and I'll go to actually Johnny Boswell, who's one of our former, board chairs, board presidents, and also I think he's just got a lifetime achievement or some kind of award the other day at the award show. Johnny's from Kosciuszko and has Boswell Media up there with Melissa, but he really I think did a great job of making the point when we were meeting with our congressional folks this past visit, just how important it is to hold big tech to the same standards that radio and TV broadcasters, the responsibilities we have. We can't go out and just say whatever we want to say, and there's not going to be any consequences, right? Can't say anything that like maybe defame somebody or is slanderous or whatever. Well, we're going to be held accountable, and we're probably going to have some serious litigation, fines, whatever it happens to be. They can say anything they want to on social media platforms with no accountability, no responsibility. And that's just not fair. I mean, I know life's not fair, but that's definitely not fair and should be addressed.
100%. I agree. What about some of our other topics that we discussed? Ownership is one.
Sure. Yeah. So a few of the things that we talked about when we were up there specifically, for this session that the NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters, is kind of our voice in DC. They do a great job for us. But we were talked about ownership deregulation, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier. We're competing with big tech, all these other media companies that are just gigantic. And you think about us, we're really kind of small compared to those companies, but yet our obligations are so big, and we need to be able to compete fairly. And all we say is we don't need an advantage. We just want a fair playing field, right? We just want it to be level. And one of the things that would help us with that is just basically deregulation, which we're seeing that happen. It may not be happening as quickly as we want it to, but it is happening. So whether it's ownership deregulation or some of the rules that we have, maybe taking some of those away and some of the burdens that we have that are a little bit onerous, that's really, really important. And then another thing that we're working on that we talked about is we call it Next Gen TV. I actually read I think it was maybe in somewhere in South America, maybe where they've passed it, where it's called TV 3.0. But basically, it gives us an opportunity to have a connection with our viewers through that's more technology advanced than what we have now. Right now, it's just basically we send a signal to you and you can watch it. Well, this will be a two-way street. So, like, we communicate with you, but you can communicate back, and the technology is pretty impressive. So we ask our congressional leaders to encourage the FCC to set a deadline for us to transition to next gen TV, which is the technical terms ATSC 3.0. Yeah, so that was something else we worked on when we were there, and we're making some progress.
We definitely are. And AM radio.
AM radio in every car. So a lot of the manufacturers, the car manufacturers, decided they were going to pull AM radio out of the vehicles. Which a lot of the AM radio folks obviously upset about that, because a lot of people, that's where they listen, when they're driving. But then the concern was too that could also possibly lead to FM radio being next. So then all of a sudden, you don't have AM radio, you don't have FM radio, and it goes back to kind of safety and things like that. You think about weather alerts, other breaking news alerts that you get from the radio stations. So I think we're close to that being passed, where they will require the manufacturers to include an AM, receiver in the cars.
And I have to say that I always feel so well received by our congressmen and our senators. And I feel like we're so fortunate that they all, I talk to people in other associations, and they're like, I mean, you actually get to meet with them.
Yeah.
And not staffers. And staffers are extremely important.
Right.
We love our staffers
We do.
just like
Yep.
we love them. And they're the ones that I have to bother all the time.
That's
are
right.
the staffers. But I just do feel like that we have such a great relationship with all of them.
Yeah, it's nice when we go up there that they actually enjoy seeing us. We're most of the time we're not asking for money or anything like that. We may be asking for them to consider maybe signing on to the legislation, which is, I think it says a lot about our relationship with them. Is sometimes our representatives will be the first ones that say, "Yeah, I'll sign on to that letter or that some type of legislation. I'll co-sponsor that." We really have a great relationship with everybody up there, and that's important. It really is, because they impact what happens to our industry and our business.
And you all are so important to them, you all being the GMs of the stations. This past time, I remember we were walking out of our White House tour,
Yeah.
and my phone rings, and it's for Ted.
Yeah, that was a
It
great
one
call.
of our senators.
Yeah, boy, I love that call. Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up, Amanda. Luckily, we got that resolved. It was all good. So
Yes, it was fine.
yeah,
So you took care of everything,
I
as you
did.
always do.
I did. Yeah.
But it really is a commitment. I don't think people realize. I'm so appreciative to those that do come to DC. I mean, you flew in on Monday and you flew out on Thursday evening.
Yeah. It's a long week, but it's 1 week a year, and it really is kind of neat to be there with broadcasters across the country, and to see as we walk through the halls of Congress and you see these other broadcasters, they're doing the same thing, and I think it has an impact. You think about what happened like that next week when the letters were sent, and so many people had signed on, and it's just important to go up and have that advocacy, like you talked about earlier, with our representatives. And fortunately, like you said, we have a great relationship, and they are all so supportive.
We do. And I am so appreciative of you for agreeing to be our board chair. I think at first you were kind of like, I don't know about this.
Well, when it went to like two-year terms, so if you think about it, you start off as secretary treasurer, then your vice chair, then your chair, then your past chair. That's 8 years of your life. It's a big commitment, but it goes back to me just being passionate about what we do and wanting to help in any way I can, help the industry, help, selfishly help WLBT and Gray Media. I shared with you that I was in Arkansas, and was on the board there for the Arkansas broadcasters, and I was actually getting ready to be the president or chair. I can't remember what they called it there, and that's when the company moved me to Myrtle Beach. So I'd never been able to be a chair. I've been a chair of a lot of organizations and a lot of boards, but this is really where my passion is. So I'm glad that I was at least able to serve, and I'm really enjoying it. I've got a year and a half left, or a little less, yeah. It's because it's a 2-year term, right? So it's not this September, but the next September. Yeah.
Are you trying to count down?
Oh no, not at all. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to remember because I have been on the board now I've been on the board a long time, but I've been an officer for what 5 years now. So
And then you still have 2 more
I know
remaining
exactly.
as passed.
I'll try not to pull a Derek Rogers on you like he did and
Oh,
leave.
thank
Yeah.
you. I know, since he left me. But he's coming back. He's supposed to be coming
Yeah,
back to
right.
conference.
Yeah, okay. I'll believe that when I see him. When I see Derek walk in the building, that's when I'll believe Derek's going to be at conference.
But you have been just great.
Oh,
And
thank you.
people don't realize that our executive committee meets once a month. And I
Yeah.
know I can probably be a lot for y'all.
Well, not at all. In fact, I'll compliment you because you're talking about what we do, but we're able to do what we do because we have such a great president, executive director, whatever you want to call it, in you, because you keep everything running. We just meet every once in a while. So day-to-day operations are the Amanda Fontaine show, and we could not ask for a better leader than having you there. So thank you for all you do.
Oh, you're sweet. I feel the same way. I tell everyone, I love my job. I
Yeah.
love going to work every day.
Yeah. Well, you can tell that. I mean, you see people, if somebody's not enjoying what they do, you know it. You may not know it like immediately, but at some point, probably not too long in a conversation, you're going to realize they're not really enjoying what they're doing. So, you're a great reflection of the entire organization. You represent us well. Obviously, I don't even know if everybody knows this, but now Amanda actually is part of the National Association of NASBA, National Association of State Broadcast Associations. Amanda is now on the executive committee for that. She was nominated and voted in this past meeting right back in March. So now she's one of the officers. So we're proud of you for that too. And eventually, hopefully, you'll be is it a chair? Is that what they call it, or president? Yeah, president. Yeah. So she'll actually be the president of the entire NASBA organization for the entire country. So
That might be kind of scary.
that's awesome.
But I love my counterparts too. I do. There's
Yeah.
a me and
I'm
all
sure
50
I'm sure they know what
states.
they're getting into.
And I mean, I truly do. I love them. I get so excited. I'm like, oh, I get to go to DC and, see this person and this person and this person. And then not long ago, Susan Reinhardt is leaving us, and we did this picture frame for her. And it was one of those digital frames. And so I was reaching out to everybody and I was like, hey, can you send me a picture? And I never realized, I went through the list and literally everyone is in my phone except for I think 9 of them.
Oh, wow. And there's how many? Does every state have
50
somebody?
plus Puerto Rico.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. Well, yeah, I mean, you talk about us doing advocacy. That's great advocacy, I think, for Mississippi, that you are in that role and that you represent us so well. It's important that we have a positive kind of a spotlight on us based on you. So, yeah, you're a great representative. Thank you.
Oh, you're so sweet. I have to say, not coming from the broadcast industry, I always say I remember my first week, and I think it was Tim Walker that looked at me and was like, okay, we have a fly-in to DC on Stellar. And I was like, a who, a what? What are you talking about?
That's all right. Yeah, that goes way back, Stellar. And even though it wasn't that long ago, but I'm like, wow, I remember that.
Yeah. So I have learned so much. And people always ask me, what do you do exactly?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, you work with all the radio and television stations. What does that mean? And I was like, well, the award show that we just had.
Right.
That's MAB.
Yeah.
The conference is MAB. This, and this. But people always say, like, what's your favorite thing? My favorite thing would be the award show because I just love being able to recognize y'all and the work that you do in your communities. And I feel like some of them are just not, they're all appreciated, definitely,
Sure.
within their companies and everything, but they're just not publicly recognized, I don't feel like, enough. And so I think it's such a great opportunity, and it's so much fun to see their faces, and when they're just totally surprised to win an award, it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
I can't believe I got first place. Like, this is awesome. So that's really fun. But I love the very first thing that y'all made me do, you did make me do it. When I got there was, you were like, okay, I want you to go to every station.
Yeah.
I was like, okie dokie. Well, and that's quite interesting in Mississippi because
Yeah.
some of those radio stations are like 45 minutes apart. But it was so much fun. And you really do like, I always say, like, my NASBA group is a family. I feel like our board is a family. And when I walk in all of the stations, I feel like y'all, I mean, you all think of each other truly as a family.
Yeah, we really do. It is. I mean, there's this relationship you have. We all deal with the same challenges and opportunities, and we all do the same thing basically. And kind of like what you were saying, people are like, what do you do? Well, people that are not in the industry don't really understand everything we do. And it's nice to be able to collaborate and have conversations with people that get it, that know what you do every day, what you deal with. So the organization and the membership to me is just very, very important. I wish we had every radio station and every TV station in the state that were members of the MAB. So if you're watching right now and you're not a member, then this is my solicitation to you to come join us. We'd love to have you.
That's right. We do have all of the TV stations.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we do.
We have 100% of our TV.
So we need 100% of the radio stations. So if you're a radio general manager or operator or whoever, and you're not a member of MAB, join now.
And that's something that you want to be kind of one of your legacies.
It is. I would love for that to happen. That and it may not. I mean, it may not work for everybody, but we'd love for everybody to at least consider it. And if you want me to help have a conversation with you, call me, and I'll walk through why it would be beneficial to you to be a member.
That's awesome. I'm sitting here going, okay, do you want to give them your cell phone number, Ted?
I'll give you my work number.
I was thinking about your legacy, and one of the very first things you did, you literally was installed as our board chair. And then at lunch that same day was also so fun that we got to surprise Mr. Hank.
Oh, yeah.
And name our leadership award after Hank Price and present it to Dan Modisette. That was cool. Who had no idea and thought he was there to present.
I don't see how you pulled that off. That was impressive. And his wife was there too. She was there like in the room. And I'm like, how do you not know that this is going on? We've been talking about a lot of great leaders during this conversation, and Hank is just up at the top. Hank Price, I had the very, very fortunate, I went to the NAB leadership, broadcast leadership program at Northwestern in Chicago, and Hank was leading that session. That was the first time I'd ever met him. And I mean, and he's sitting there going around the room. I think I shared this with you, and asking everybody where they're from. And I'm like, yeah, I'm originally from Mississippi. And he said, where'd you go to school? I said, Southern Miss. I went to school at Southern Miss. And I'm like, where am I? It's like, and then he was roommates with a guy that was from Tylertown, Doug Walker, who's still at the radio station right now. They were roommates. And Hank said, yeah, my roommate was Doug Walker. Do you know him? I'm like, yeah, I know him. I'm from Tylertown, like 2,000 people, right? I worked with him. But Hank's just a leader in so many different ways, and has just been recognized, throughout the industry. And it was so special to name that award after him, because if you define a leader, Hank's picture's right there, And then even maybe equally special was that Dan was the first recipient, and Dan was obviously the former general manager at WLBT, and just somebody who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. So to be able to recognize Hank, and then also to make the award to Dan Modisette was about one of the best days ever.
It was awesome. And you have other things that you're getting ready to implement. So
we're looking at some different things. Yeah. So I don't want to spill the beans yet, but yeah, there's some cool stuff coming up. I hope that the organization continues the success it has had, because it really has, I think, improved over the last few years. You're talking about the awards show. What is it, 5 years now or so? I mean, think about that. We weren't even doing that 5 years ago, and we didn't know what to expect that first year when you put it together. And I mean, it was just such a tremendous success, and to be able to recognize the broadcasters at every level, like you were talking about, these people that may not get any recognition for what they do can come there and be recognized by their peers. That's pretty special.
Definitely. I'm over here smiling because it made me think back to on that very first show, because we took it over from AP.
Yeah, right.
And I think everyone was kind of questioning, I'm not exactly sure what to expect.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget Mr. Johnny Boswell coming up and hugging me. He was the first person. Wow. This is so Impressive. It's like so much better than I thought. And I was like, Mr. Johnny, were you thinking that I was not going to have a good event? Like, seriously? And everyone kept coming up later. And I was like, okay, they really weren't expecting that great of an event. Like, I'm not sure if I should be really excited that y'all loved it or if I should be like, now, what were y'all thinking about me? What this was going to be like?
I don't know if we knew what to expect, you know? I mean, it's just like the first time and you think, and, you know, and we'd never done it, you know? So we had no idea. And then we went in. I remember walking into the Capitol Inn, you know, that's where we have it. And the decorations, you know, I don't know if you remember that year, but you had those centerpieces on the tables. They were just over the top. And I was like, holy cow, this is nice.
It was awesome. And I do remember I was totally by myself. Like we didn't have anyone. That was, you know, I was still totally by myself.
Right.
And I remember I asked my sweet friend Mary Lee to help me put the awards in order. And I think we got through at like midnight.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I was so tired after that event. The next day, I did not get off the couch.
I can
like,
understand
literally
why.
did not get off the couch.
Well,
but
after
it was so
standing at the
awesome.
front this past thing, you know, handing out the awards, I understand it. And that was only a small part of what you guys do. So I can imagine how exhausted you are after that event.
I know my feet normally hurt a little bit after
They should.
after all of that, but it was awesome. It was a great event this year.
Oh, it was fantastic.
We already have our date set for next year.
Oh, great. Yeah. You know, that event and then the conference, those are the two kind of cornerstone premier events that we do. And to me, those, in my opinion, really showcase the local broadcasters and how great of an organization it is and how special it is. So nice job with that.
Oh, thank you. I love seeing all of you get together. And I think it's the coolest thing. I always say this, even as far as board members, because there are so many great people on our board.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when Peter Keith from WAPT first came on the board. I remember going, okay, guys, y'all be nice to Peter. And everyone, you all are, it's so crazy how you're all competitors, but like you get along so well.
Yeah. Well,
It's
it
amazing.
goes back, you know, they're just good people. I mean, Peter's a great guy. You know, do I compete against him every day? Absolutely. But is he a nice guy? He's absolutely nice. He's a super guy. Love him to death. But, you know, I still want to beat him.
You still want to beat him. I remember was it the board retreat where we were going to play Family Feud, radio versus TV. And I'm like, and both you and Peter were like, hey, I'll come help you take all of this over. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, where are they? and then they're like, Ted and Peter are gone on the golf cart to take someone to their house. It's a really long story.
Oh my gosh. Thank goodness Candace, my wife, was there and could video it. And then all of a sudden we're helping this lady, you know, who apparently this is a kind of a trend for her that she appears there and can't get home, and like get to her house and like Peter, I turn around and Peter's gone and I'm there by myself. I'm like, where's my partner in crime, you know? He disappeared on me.
That was so funny. I remember y'all walking in the door. I was like, where have you been? And you were like, you're not even going to believe this.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, that's a pretty good story. And I don't even think you can make that up.
No, that is not something you can tell. That was like a movie, you know, Hollywood makes up stuff like that.
We have lots of adventures.
That's an understatement.
Yes, we do. We do. But we have the closest board. Like,
we really do.
Really, really, really do.
We really do. Yeah, we're very fortunate. We all get along. And you know, people, they're donating their time. They have to drive. You know, think about it when we have our meetings. I mean, we're all over the state. You know, it's like 6 hours from the top to the bottom. And think about Rick Williams driving from Biloxi to Pickwick, you know, that year a couple of years ago when we had our meeting up there. You know, I think it took him 6 hours and he had like 2 blowouts on the way. You know?
He did, bless him. He's a trooper.
He is a trooper. Yeah.
He is. But that was a fun one.
That was fun. Yeah, I'd never really been up there. I went up there one time when I was a young kid, when I was in Scouts. We went up there and went hiking, and that was the last time I'd been there. So it was, 40 plus years ago. So yeah, it was a great experience. It's
And
beautiful.
the off-road
Pickwick's
adventure?
beautiful. That was the best. Yeah, that was the best.
That was
I got to
fun.
give you credit for that. Yeah, that was fun.
It's always like, okay, what are you going to do next?
Yeah, that was.
And I'm
pretty
always
awesome.
like, okay, how am I going to top this? This year will be great, though.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
this year will be interesting. So I'm very excited about it.
Hopefully the weather cooperate and we can do that. That'd be fun.
Yes, yes, yes. So we love our National Guard.
We do. They're fantastic to support us for so long, and yeah, I can't say enough great things about them and what they do. Obviously, representing Mississippi and keeping us protected and safe. So, yeah, to all the National Guard folks, thank you so much for what you do.
Definitely. And Adjutant General, again,
Yeah,
like the first time, I mean, when he,
Tylertown boy, yeah,
yes,
he's
yes,
a
a little connection there.
Walthall County guy.
And Tommy Tillman came to the
Yep,
conference, and we now have Squirrel.
that's right. Squirrels representing.
She is. I love Squirrel. Going to have lunch with Squirrel right after this.
Okay,
So
well, tell Squirrel hello and tell her thank you.
I will. So we love them, and we've just been very blessed. Our PEP program
Yep.
has been very productive, which is
Yeah, the PEPs, basically, that's what helps fund the Mississippi Association of Broadcast. So it's for all our PEP partners. We really appreciate that, and couldn't do it without you, so thank you.
so. What is the most memorable experience that you've had? I guess in TV in general,
Ooh,
and then as a member of the board of directors. That should be interesting.
oh,
I know those are hard questions.
you should have sent me those.
Sorry, I know I didn't prepare you at all. Ted sits down. It's like, hey, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, you.
I think the probably the most memorable and maybe one of the proudest moments is when we signed on the TV station in Myrtle Beach. It was 8/8/08, so August the 8th of 2008. I'd gotten there a year earlier. We built the station literally from the ground up. We didn't have a building, we didn't have a tower, and we were planning to launch in September. September is when most programming launches, new shows come out and things like that. And then somebody said, "Well, doesn't NBC have the Olympics, in starting in August?" And so, anyway, the first day was 8/8/08, and so we launched WMBF at that morning. I can't remember what time we signed off. I think it was like 6 or 7, and the first day. And so to see the station come to life, we've actually accomplished it. It's on the air. We hired 70 something employees over the course of like 6 or 7 months. It was crazy. So that was probably one of the most proud moments that I've had in my career.
Oh,
I've
you
had
have
a
to be
lot.
so proud.
I've had, there's been a lot of amazing experiences and things, and I've been blessed beyond belief. From the MAB, there's been just some really, I think, fantastic experiences. I got on the board. I moved back to Mississippi in 2015, and probably on the board the next year. So, I mean, I've been involved at the board level for probably, how long is that, like 10 years? There may have been a year gap in there somewhere, but there's been just great memories, a lot of different ones. I don't know if I have one that really just stands out. So I'm enjoying being chair. I will say that. I love it. Being able to collaborate with everybody and help maybe advance the organization and our mission. So hopefully when I finish my chairmanship, that will be even better than when I started. That's my goal.
Oh, it definitely will be.
I hope
100%.
so. I hope so.
I've so enjoyed working with you
Oh, thanks.
through the years when you finally said yes.
I told you. Now there was a trade-off there. I said you got to stay the whole time too, right? Yeah. So you can't leave either.
Yeah. I remember in DC the next day, I was like, I remember what you said last night.
I agreed. Because remember, we were thinking about changing it back to 1 year. And I said, I'll do 2 years as long as you stay.
Yes. And I'm so proud of you because, like, you're coming to SLC for, like, the whole entire time.
Staying the whole time, not flying in late and leaving early. Yeah,
I know. I'm just so proud.
I'm all in.
You are 100%. Okay. Well, leave us with, let's think about students that want to come into the broadcast industry.
Sure.
And what are just some words of wisdom that you would give to them? Because it's almost time. Gosh, they'll be graduating.
Yeah.
Like now.
Well, it goes back to kind of what we talked about earlier about impacting the communities and serving the communities. That's ultimately we have a public service obligation because we have a license from the FCC. So to be able to work with a company that has such an impact, on the communities that we serve and whether it's with the TV station or the radio station, or it's on the news side. You think about the sales side, we're helping businesses grow, from helping them spread their message. To me, it's just so rewarding. And so if you're considering a career, it's a great opportunity. And then we're advancing digitally. So it's not just broadcast, but that's a huge part. Obviously, we're the Mississippi Association of Broadcasters, but we have this other digital media stream and platforms that we do. So we're also trying to stay current and top of mind in terms of where technology's headed. So, and then we talked about next gen TV, and there's just so much positivity on the horizon. So it's a great career. It really is. It's been phenomenal for me. I can't imagine doing anything else.
I definitely think the future is bright for broadcasting.
Very bright. Put on
And
your sunglasses, right?
Yes.
Got to wear shades.
Yes. I'm thinking about one of the just amazing students that I think you're going to be getting at WLBT. So I know you're excited about that.
Yes, I was excited that she was getting all those awards at the award show, and then I already knew that we had signed her as one of our new employees. So I was just it was very exciting for me for Kennedy to be joining us.
Oh, she's pretty amazing. So a 2-time MAB scholarship winner.
Yeah, she's
which has never happened.
She's impressive.
And then the overall award. I mean,
yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she's going to be a great addition to the team. I think she starts with us in June, so yeah.
It's always so fun. When we went to see Tim Walker that day, I was walking by and I was like, oh, it's Brandon. Like, I didn't even realize that you were working here. It's so much fun to see them in college. And then I'm like walking into stations and they're there and loving what they do. It's so awesome.
Yeah, that's when you know that they made the right decision, when you see them and they're like happy and they're excited about what they do. Yeah, there's nothing better than that.
Well, it is hard to believe, but we have now been talking for an hour.
What? We're going to have to edit this thing down. Nobody's going to listen to this for an hour.
It does not seem like it, but
I didn't know it lasted that long.
It's however long we talk.
Oh, okay.
So, but I know that Daniel has to go, so I'm trying to be cognizant and watch.
Yeah,
the time.
you've been talking about your lunch that you have, so it's squirrel. So
I know I do. I cannot be late for squirrel.
Yeah.
So Ted, thank you so much for being here, and I know your schedule is insanely crazy, and it's so hard to put things like this in your calendar, but I did put it in your calendar.
You did, thank you. That's why I'm here, because you added it to my calendar.
Yes, so thank you for being here, and thank you for all that you do.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here, and I'm excited about broadcasting, so go MAB.